I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it.
I predicted yesterday that Donald Trump's State of the Union address would be a distractapalooza. What I didn't think that it would be as much of was a ass-kiss-a-palooza. We'll get to that, but let's talk about the distractapalooza that it was. It was bereft of accomplishments, and that really lies in stark contrast to what the address is intended to be. It is, after all, the State of the Union. What is the state of our nation? Do we indeed have a masked secret police force of Donald Trump, loyal only to Donald Trump, acting as an assassination squad, as an execution squad, roaming the streets of the United States, kidnapping people from the streets, sending them to concentration camps? Yes, we do. And it would be very difficult for Donald Trump to try to paint what's going on in this country, even economically, as anything other than a terrible situation. Inflation is on the rise. Energy costs are on the rise. Grocery prices are on the rise. Vehicle prices are on the rise. Every metric is bad for Donald Trump. So unless he's going to lie, which he did yesterday at a breakneck pace, there really is no good news to announce. There is no State of the Union being strong as we hear presidents declare State of the Union after State of the Union after State of the Union. But the distraction element of this was absolutely in play. It was organized and engineered to be moment after moment of Democrats the GOP trying to make them look bad when they don't stand for Donald Trump's nonsense, when they're not up applauding the jingoistic fake patriotism put on display by Donald Trump. And I want to play this one moment that I think should be talked about today because we could see it for what it is. Independents can see it for what it is. Democrats certainly see it for what it is. Republicans hopefully are going to see this for what it is. It's Donald Trump trotting out the United States Olympic hockey team, the men's team, and giving one of them the Presidential Medal of Freedom during the State of the Union.
Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off, do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
That's going to make your life better. That's going to make your grocery bill less. That's going to make your energy bills much less. The fact that this ostensible hockey team captain got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And this hockey team, apparently gleeful, willing participants in propaganda for this fascist administration. I posted yesterday on Blue Sky. I almost said True Social. I don't think ever posted on True Social. But I posted yesterday that they may be gold medal winners, but they are losers for the fact that they are willing participants in what this was. It's just an exercise in propaganda because it doesn't speak to the state of the nation. It doesn't speak to making things better for Americans. It has nothing to do with whether or not nearly 2 million people have been kicked off food assistance in this country. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is only propaganda. And, everybody likes to be right. Tooting my own horn tends to be. It's starting to be something that I do more often. But this is a moment that I predicted yesterday. It was that easy. It was so easy to predict. This dumb shit predicted it. This is what you can expect from the State of the Union tonight. It's going to be absolutely a jingoistic patriotism fest, but it's all fake patriotism. It's fake. It's not patriotism. They don't care about the troops. If they cared about the troops, they wouldn't be trying to hurl us into another conflict in the Middle East with Iran, sending the armada to start another war with Iran, because they've chanted death to America a few times, apparently, as I've talked about earlier. If they cared about veterans like they say they care, they wouldn't be cutting benefits. They wouldn't be reformulating how you apply for and get disability benefits after having been hurt, injured while serving your country in the military. If they cared about the actual situation on the ground with the economy and the rising prices at the grocery store, the wildly rising prices for energy, for electricity, for heat this winter, they would be doing something. Instead, what they're going to do is create this distractapalooza in the State of the Union. They're going to have heroes up in the rafters that you can, oh, it's so good. They're going to probably do some other kind of nonsense distraction performance like they did with Rush Limbaugh getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So it'll be talked about. That'll be obsessed by the press over. But there's not going to be any substance. Right down to the Presidential Medal of Freedom reference. It wasn't the only medal that was awarded during this. There was also the Medal of Honor awarded, not once but twice. We'll get to one in a subsequent video. But they brought in this World War II and Korea and Vietnam, maybe not World War II, certainly Korea and Vietnam veteran. Maybe he was World War II. And awarded him the Medal of Honor. Well, great, fine. No complaints there. But this isn't about making the country better. This isn't about making the lives of people easier by giving these medals out. This is all just a jingoistic exercise in fake patriotism on the part of Donald Trump. So much so that after they awarded this medal to this old man up in the gallery of the Congress, Donald Trump went on this rant again about how he wants to award himself the Medal of Honor. And the crowd, the Republican crowd, laughs and chuckles, disrespecting the very honor that they just witnessed be awarded to an actual military hero, not the 5-time draft-dodging physical weakling and coward that is Donald Trump.
I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday. But that's our highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing, and it's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you.
So let's talk about how this speech was received, not by Democrats, not by independents, but by Republicans. How did they perceive this? I'm going to cut to this clip of David Chalian, the political director over at CNN, and he talks about how this poll that he's getting ready to read from is skewed toward Republicans because people who watch the speech skew Republican. Many Democrats tuned out of this, and they watched alternative programming across the spectrum yesterday, across YouTube from Midas Touch and others who did their own live streams. So what was left to watch and left to poll who watched was Republicans. Watch this, which should be setting off alarm bells all across Republican land, but they're so myopic and existing in the Republican bubble, in the reality-free space that is the Republican Party, that they won't recognize the alarm bells that should be sounding.
David, what did they say?
Yeah, well, I just want to take a moment here to explain. This is a poll of speech watchers, so it is not a poll that is reflective of the population overall. And what we know about people who tune in to State of the Union addresses, they tend to be fans of the president, whichever president is giving the speech. So the polling universe here is about 13 points more Republican than the overall population usually is. So just keep all that in mind as we go to the results of our instant poll. Get this reaction from those that watched the speech tonight. 38% said they had a very positive reaction to the speech, 25% somewhat positive, 36% negative. So roughly 2/3 in the positive territory, 1/3 negative among speech watchers. How does that very positive number stack up against previous addresses? Well, look here. It's about 6 percentage points lower than Donald Trump was at with the very positive score last year. He was at 44% very positive reaction last year. This year, 38%, even though the universe of speech watchers was actually even a bit more Republican than it was last year. And we also took a look at that very positive speech reaction here compared to previous presidents in this midterm year. So in 2026, this year, tonight, 38% very positive reaction. Joe Biden 4 years ago, 41% very positive reaction. That was the year Democrats lost control of the House. You see Trump in 2018 was at 48% very positive when his party lost control of the House in his first term. So you see here, again, Donald Trump is at the bottom of this. I think these polls, even by fans of the president, people who tuned in to watch tonight, and he gets a 2/3 overall positive reaction, I still think you're seeing his overall trouble in the polls these days, which is that he's at a low point, even compared to a year ago when he gave his speech to a joint session.
Those are some stark numbers. If we just look at it from year to year, from 2017, 2018, 2019, 2025, 2026, it just seems to get progressively worse. 57, 48, 59, 44, 38%. Their reaction was positive to the speech. 38% among a Republican skewed dominant audience. And if you compare it, as you just witnessed, I'll put up the screenshot. If you compare it to other presidents from Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump again, it just gets progressively worse and worse and worse, with Bush being 74% in the year following the 9/11 attacks on the Twin Towers in New York and in Pennsylvania, the crash there, and here at the Pentagon. It was a different time for the world and for the country, where everybody was trying to rally around patriotism and supporting the president of the United States, who ended up killing more than 1 million people in unjust, illegal wars. But, that's neither here nor there. We're just, I'm distracting myself. Obama, 48. Trump, 48. These all, by the way, are all years after they were inaugurated. The very first State of the Union, because the first address you give isn't considered the State of the Union, since you've only been in office for 1 month and really don't have any control over what the State of the Union is. It should tell the Republicans everything they need to know. It should tell them, give them a guiding light, a North Star to look toward about strategy, but they're going to ignore it, because they believe they're winning like never before. They do believe in their minds. And look, I've been somebody who's doubted that these elected leaders are the cult members, like the unwashed Fox News audience. But after watching yesterday, the looks in their eyes and in their faces, the adulation, the worshipful feelings that they expressed on their faces while talking to Donald Trump, while begging for selfies, while shaking his hand and hugging him and reaching in for kisses on his cheek. These people are in the cult. They believe their own propaganda. That is dangerous for America. Anyway, what do you think? Did you watch the speech? Did you watch alternative programming? I'd love to hear. You can talk about it in the comments below. Another speech delivered by a fascist to a joint session of Congress, and yet another speech where Al Green, the elderly Democratic congressman from, I believe, Texas, is one of the only members of Congress to set a good example, to show to give a roadmap to future leaders of how to behave in moments like this. On the heels of Donald Trump sharing a racist, white supremacist, vile and disgusting cartoon of the Obamas depicting them as apes, Al Green shows up with a sign that says, "Black people are not apes," and puts it up and shows it to Donald Trump as he's speaking, refusing to sit, which is his right. He can stand in his own chamber. He can have a sign. He's not disrupting anything. He's just displaying a sign that says, a fact, black people are not apes. I'm going to get to the moment. But what I want to do is admonish Democrats, as I did yesterday. Maybe that's where I should start, is just a brief clip, fewer than 30 seconds, I believe, of me saying that Democrats should not show up to this address. Unless you're going to be there to disrupt, unless you're going to be there to heckle Donald Trump, unless you're going to be there to resist fascism, why are you there? This is what I said yesterday. Listen, nobody's listening to me in Congress, but why even show up? Why absolutely even show up at all? Why, if Hitler was giving a State of the Union address, would you go? If the answer is yes, maybe you're not doing your job right. There shouldn't be a Democrat in the audience as far as I'm concerned. This is not a partnership in governance. Nobody listens to me, didn't expect anybody to listen to me. Few people did show up, a few people. Some just sat there in a silent protest. That's really not how that works, especially in this particular setting. But Al Green did show up with his sign. And several Republicans attacked him, attempting to rip the sign from his hands, like this clip of Mark Wayne Mullen. A man in his late 40s, maybe early 50s, attacking someone who is very well, if not into his 80s, on his way to 80 years old. He wasn't the only one. Steve Scalise, as the president was walking down the middle of the aisle, having his ass kissed by Republican after Republican after Republican, you can see the panic in Steve Scalise's eyes behind Donald Trump, trying to reach for the sign, trying to block it from Donald Trump's view. Oh, the dear leader cannot see this. What will we do if the dear leader sees the sign that says, black people are not apes? In direct response to Donald Trump's posting a cartoon of the former president and his wife, Michelle Obama, depicting them as apes. Watch this from Steve Scalise. By the way, before we cut to the clip, Steve Scalise is a man who has said with his mouth while running for office in Louisiana, the home of David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the KKK, that Steve Scalise said, I'm just like David Duke without all that baggage. This is the man who's trying to shield our white supremacist president from the white supremacist, from the criticism of his white supremacist posting from a black man saying black people are not apes.
I'm gonna try a selfie.
It wasn't just Mark Wayne Mullen. It wasn't just Steve Scalise. It was also Troy Nehls, another racist ghoul who, at the end, as Al Green was being escorted out of the chamber, no Democrats seemed to be protesting that he was being removed. Where's the solidarity, folks? But as he's being removed, Troy Nehls reaches for the sign also and tries to snatch it. This is his property. This is his belongings trying to be stolen by Republicans as he's being escorted out.
I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today our border is secure. Thank you. Today our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before.
This should frustrate you. You're not alone if you feel frustrated by the fact that Democrats didn't stand in solidarity with Representative Green. I was expressing this yesterday. I was seething with anger, seething with frustration and rage at what was taking place. I posted this as a quote tweet or a quote post of Brittany Page's talking about this. She said, Representative Al Green holding a sign reading "Black people aren't apes" as Trump walks by before the start of the State of the Union. MS Now reporting Republicans tried to rip the sign from his hands, including Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, which we've already showed. And to this, I posted, why is a single Democrat in the chamber for this Nazi speech if they aren't going to agitate? We need more Al Greens, and we absolutely do need more Al Greens. Thankfully, there's a handful of members of the House of Representatives who weren't there to just sit and participate in silence in Donald Trump, in the Hitler of our time, as mentioned as labeled by the current Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, who called Donald Trump America's Hitler. Why join in this speech legitimizing Donald Trump as a partner in governance? Why do that? Unless you're going to be someone who does agitate, who does set the record straight in real time, like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, both as Donald Trump was endeavoring on a racist, white supremacist screed, a hateful, bigoted rant. They set the record straight in real time, telling him, you're killing Americans. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself, not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
So in a moment like this, don't be a Chuck Schumer or a Mark Kelly or an Alyssa Slotkin. Be an Al Green. In your life, be an Al Green. Be an Ilhan Omar or a Rashida Tlaib. Remember last year when Donald Trump gave his address and Al Green was also there to protest Donald Trump and ended up being censured for it. Several Democrats joined in disgracefully to vote for the censure of Al Green. Disgusting behavior on the part of Democrats who should all be in solidarity fighting fascism instead of participating in this charade put on by Donald Trump and the Republicans. Absolutely. I would welcome your conversation about this. Let's have it in the comments below the video. If you're on Facebook, go like and follow the Dollemore Daily on Facebook. I would appreciate it very much. It absolutely does help from an algorithmic point of view. Same goes for YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com.
And even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body, bleeding profusely after being stabbed.
If you watched Donald Trump's State of the Union address last night, there was one thing that really struck me, and I wonder if it struck you as well. It was the continued touching on, reliance upon, obsession with blood and gore and murder and dismemberment and losing legs, and just, it was an obsession. It came up time and time and time and time again, multiple times in one speech. Now, granted, it was a record-breaking speech, the longest State of the Union address in the history of blah, 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 blah. Nobody fucking cares about that because it was just lies, nearly 2 hours worth of lies. They talked ad nauseum about how long the speech was going to be, probably, it seems, to gin up the prediction markets like at Polymarket and all these ghoulish gambling sites. It didn't go that long. It did go longer than any other, but it didn't go as long as they were predicting, like 3 hours, that it was going to go past midnight. But Donald Trump, time and time and time again, brought up blood and guts and murder and gore, and just, while the victims' families are in the room, he's speaking about it in the most gory way possible, usually in an effort to demonize immigrants in this country, as though American-born Americans don't commit crimes, like the serial killers haven't all been American citizens, born and bred Americans, whether it be the BTK killer or the Jeffrey Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy. All these people are Americans, but we got to demonize immigrants. We got to demonize black and brown folks. It was a gross thing. Let's begin with this clip where he's describing the murder of a girl in her bathtub at the State of the Union address. This is the President of the United States of America, obsessed with murder.
In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub, bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Elizabeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals for.
That was an attack on immigrants. The same as the attack that took place here in Washington, D.C. after Donald Trump deployed the National Guard into this city, the city in which I currently live. Absolutely unnecessary. Sarah Beckstrom would still be alive today if Donald Trump didn't make her a political prop. Just like he made her parents, just like he made several individuals in this speech just political props of propaganda for his white supremacy, talking about Sarah Beckstrom in the most ghoulish, descriptive ways, talking about her murder.
But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation, she was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged, shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital.
With her parents there being used as props for white supremacy. In the same telling of this, he pivoted to one of the survivors of that attack, the sickening attack, the unjustified attack on these National Guard troops who didn't choose to come here. The thing he does not mention there is that Sarah Beckstrom had intimated that she didn't know why she was here. She didn't agree with being here. But he wants to make this a political tool for white supremacy to justify the mass deportation effort right now. And one of the people, the guardsman who was with her, did survive that attack. And here's Donald Trump talking about in the most gruesome way how he did survive.
Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night, and she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone, but his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. She said, I have no doubt, sir, he's going to be okay. This was a conversation that I had with her that night, with her son laying helplessly in bed, blood all over.
And again, the victim of the crime and the victim's mother there used as a prop to justify white supremacy in the country. Whether wittingly or unwittingly, I don't know. But it's gross nonetheless. And he continued on this barbaric description of violent crime, talking about blood and gore and your neck sliced and draining blood everywhere with that attack in Charlotte. Except this time, he also attributed that to illegal immigration, people with open borders, even though Irina, the Ukrainian girl who was killed in Charlotte on a light rail system, wasn't killed by an immigrant. She was killed by an American-born American citizen who suffers from mental illness. But Donald Trump still obsessed with blood and guts.
In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal, set free to kill in America, came in through open borders.
And look, you might be saying to yourself, well, this is all just about the consequence of unfettered immigration into the country and Joe Biden's open borders policy. I mean, you'd be stupid if you were to say that, but it wasn't just about immigration. He continued to talk about these morbid, macabre scenes. There was a moment where he was talking about Hamas partnering with, I guess, the IDF, the terrorist organization Hamas, partnering with Israel to get the hostages back. And he's talking about crawling through tunnels and encountering body after body after body. It's not normal.
Both living and dead. And those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. It was an amazing period of time. And they came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back. But we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug and they dug and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And
And there was a moment where he started talking about the Iranian government, the repressive, murderous Iranian government killing protesters. And he talked about it in this same way.
They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protesters. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence.
I hope you catch the irony there of Donald Trump chastising the Iranian government for killing protesters while Donald Trump kills protesters in the streets of America with his masked, anonymous secret police force, the execution squad killing protesters like Alex Preddy and Renee Good. And others, by the way, who have died at the hands of ICE, who have been maimed at the hands of ICE, blinded by non-lethal rounds being fired point blank into their faces. Donald Trump is doing the very same thing he's criticizing Iran for doing. And talking about it in a gory way. It came up another time, not about illegal immigration, not about a repressive regime, but about our attack on Venezuela, where a helicopter pilot apparently caught some fire. And Donald Trump describes this in gory, graphic detail at the State of the Union address again.
And Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight. Legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter. To deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine gun stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission. We probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded, but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take the searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing. And people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife, Amy, Eric, and Amy, come on in.
Even as he was gushing blood. But I chalk this up to dementia. I chalk this up to Donald Trump's diminished cognition, that he is focusing on things that a normal adult president wouldn't be bringing to the table during a State of the Union address in which he's supposed to tell us that all things are good, that the State of the Union is strong. Instead, it's blood and guts and gore and gushing blood and death and destruction and all while trying to paint his administration as winning, his policy prescriptions as useful, as targeted, as good and decent, as improving your lives, while going on and on and on and on about the blood and the guts and the gore and the death and the murder and the lies. Anyway, I'm hoping that someone will pick up on this and continue this story in the mainstream media, because this is important. This is ghoulish and weird and probably diagnosable. Again, not a doctor, not a medical professional, not a psychological professional, I don't know. But from a layman's perspective, it seems commonsensical to me that this is weird. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video.
Just an initial.
You know, earlier when I talked about this being a distractapalooza, this speech by Donald Trump, and I also said it, but the other thing that it was an ass-kiss-a-palooza. Sunday, 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 come on down to the ass-kiss-a-palooza of Donald Trump. Are you a Republican? Do you really want to pucker up and get your lips on the asshole of the President of the United States, the dear leader, the cult champion? Then come on down, because that's what you're going to get. And that's what you're going to get if you continue to watch this video, and the bizarre nature with which the cult dealt with Donald Trump. I opened up today's show talking about the fact that I have believed at some point, at some times, about some Republicans, that they're not truly believers in this nonsense and this narrative and this propaganda and these lies and this alternate reality. They're not really believers. I mean, there's a handful that are. But man, watching Donald Trump enter the chamber of the House of Representatives, down to the well of the House of Representatives, down that middle aisle, watching Republicans go in for kisses and hugs and begging him for selfies and having him sign their bullshit ties that have his face on them. Watching their faces, it was illuminating that these people are cult members. These people are true believers. And I'm more troubled today than I have been at any point of all of the years and the thousands and thousands, nearly 10,000 videos talking about politics in America. I'm more troubled today than I ever have been. And it's because of moments like this. And look, I'm not surprised that Troy Nehls, a man who's quitting Congress because it's unlikely he would win another term, even in Texas where he lives. But this guy is a sycophantic bootlicker of Donald Trump, just an ass lick of Donald Trump. And this is not on the way in, this is on the way out. After he's already had a moment with Donald Trump, talking to Donald Trump, where Donald Trump spots his tie that has his own face on it, has Donald Trump's face on it. And he's like, please, sir, just autograph it for me. Just put your initials, whatever you can. I want to touch the hem of your garment, as though the cult leader is Jesus himself. It was weird. Watch this.
America loves you.
Oh, look at this guy. I like that tie. I want that tie. Give me that tie.
Thank you. Take that. Put it down. Initial. Just an initial.
Thank you, boss. I like that tie. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. President, outstanding.
And look, that was on the way out. The scene was similar on the way in. There was this one guy, I don't know who this guy was, this Republican, who was just desperate for selfies with every administration official, up to and including Donald Trump. Very, very weird, culty shit here.
Mr. President.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep them on time.
I'm going to try a selfie.
And look, this is all strange. Of course, members of Congress, they line that aisle there, and they want a word or a moment with the President of the United States. This has happened for decade after decade, for probably as long as State of the Unions have been televised. There's probably been a litany, a lineup of members of Congress who want to get a moment with the President and be on TV talking to the President. Yeah, it elevates you, fine. But the way the Republicans did it this time is just weird and cultish and bizarre, dangerous even. And I'm not the only one who noticed it. Jamie Raskin, who was there for roughly 45 minutes of the 2-hour speech, he had this to say when interviewed outside the Capitol, talking about the weird cultish nature, it was a humiliation ritual. I don't know if he calls it that in this full clip, but he's near there. Watch Jamie Raskin.
So we need to keep organizing every day. Nobody can be complacent for 1 second, but do understand the vast majority of the American people reject this authoritarianism, and we are winning every day. And we are also winning in court every day, even in the Roberts Court, the court that was stacked and packed and sliced and diced and gerrymandered for Donald Trump. Even they had to say that his unilateral, idiotic, counterproductive tariffs were totally unconstitutional. No president before in American history has ever attempted to impose tariffs on his own, going around Congress. And even tonight, when he was talking to the Republicans in Congress, he was saying, and I don't even need congressional involvement in this. I'm going to do this on my own. And these sycophants, these lackeys, these humiliating substitute for real political leaders are clapping and lapping it up. It's just absurd. So, look, the Democrats were not perfect, but we are a party that is fighting for the people. And we're fighting for the idea that the government has got to be an instrument for the common good, as opposed to an instrument for the corrupt self-enrichment of the guy who gets in and his family. You know, Donald Trump has made more money in his first year in office in the second term than every other president in all of American history together have made in their entire terms. He's made billions of dollars. Nothing else comes close to this. The whole thing is a money-making racket. And so we got to take the government back for the people, and we're going to do it democratically. We're going to do it electorally, and we're also going to do it in the streets at the No Kings rally coming up March 28th. So everybody go out and be part of No Kings. We are winning every day. And thank you, Bruce Springsteen, for the beautiful song that you wrote. Thank you, Nils Lofgren, for the beautiful song that you wrote. Thank you, Dar Williams, for the beautiful song you wrote. You, too, wrote a beautiful song. There's this flowering of musical, cultural, social, political creativity across the country and around the world, because that's what democracy is all about. And that is the real answer to the authoritarian nonsense they're trying to feed us tonight in the State of the Union.
That is apt language by someone, by the way, Jamie Raskin, who I deeply respect. He's not a bomb thrower. This guy is not an attention seeker. He's not a name caller. He's not a Jesse Dollemore. He's a Jamie Raskin. He is a constitutional law professor, a serious man, a sober-minded, dispassionate human being. And for him to call them sycophants, lackeys, these humiliating substitutes for political leaders. More of that. Please, Congressman Raskin, more of that. More truth, more accuracy in your descriptions of these ghouls. This is a cult. Now, I debated whether I was going to do this, but I think I'm going to do it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm going to give you the last 2.5 minutes or so. We'll see. I don't know how long it's going to be because I haven't prepared the clip yet. But I'm going to provide you with the exit of Donald Trump from the stage out the door, and watch the adulation, watch the worship, watch these sycophants, watch these, as Jamie Raskin just described them, watch these sycophants, lackeys, and humiliating substitutes for political leaders as they cozy up to the dear leader, to the cult member, to their white supremacist grand wizard of their new KKK.
President, that was a home run. Mr. President, hey. job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very well done, sir. Great job.
Oh, good. Good. See you. Thank you.
Well done. God bless. Great job. Good man.
Thank you.
Excellent speech, Mr. President.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. President.
Best
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Best ever.
Mr. President. Thanks. Thank you.
Where you going, man?
God bless. One of the best guys. One of the best. I'm so proud of yourself.
Thank you for honoring those veterans. Luger.
Good.
I think you should take the rest of the day off.
I think we have to. We're going to have to. Thank you.
All right, guys.
You killed it.
Thank you, Virginia.
Best speech with the president. It was amazing. It really was. Home run. Really a grand slam. America loves you, Ross. Thank you. It was amazing. America loves you.
Oh, look at this guy. I like that guy. I want that guy. Give me that time. Thank you.
Take that. Put it down. Initial. Just an initial.
Thank you, Bob. I like that time. Thank you. Excellent service. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. President, outstanding speech, sir.
Mr. President.
You did good. They love the insider trading stuff.
How's he doing? He's a youngster.
He
fell asleep a couple times.
did amazing. He really did.
Great speech. Proud of you.
Great job, Mr. President. Thanks for your leadership. Mr. President, well done. God bless you. God bless you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
That's a big statement coming from you guys. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Love the finish.
Home run here. Thank you, everybody. Great job. Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
That was the best speech.
Thank you very much.
Speech I've ever heard.
Really, the best ever? That's a nice. Coming from you, that's a big statement. It's also the longest. Great job on television. Also the longest, President. Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you. Still need to talk to you.
Congratulations, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mr. President. That's great.
That was the full ass-kiss-a-palooza. I mean, the full 2 hours was as it was an aerobic exercise of standing and sitting and standing and sitting and clapping for the lies told by Donald Trump at a breakneck pace. But that right there was gross. That is just bizarre behavior from people who are members of a co-equal branch of government. Donald Trump is no more important than them. He has no more power than them. Now, it's concentrated in one person, so yeah, I guess maybe he has more power. But there are the members of a body that is on equal footing, on equal standing with the President of the United States, and they bend the knee to him. They beg him for his autograph. Please, sir, let me take a selfie right on my clothing. Shamelessly. They have no dignity. They have no shame. They have no ability to step outside themselves and see how this appears. And it should come as no shock, no surprise to anyone that they have abdicated their role as equals to Donald Trump, as a co-equal branch of government that has checks over the executive branch. They've just given all their power, ceded all their power to Donald Trump in trade, in matters of taxation, in matters of policy, in matters of funding the government. It's all just a cult. And it's no more clear today than it ever has been. More clear today than it ever has been. What do you think? Did you notice the Ask Kissapalooza? You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you're liking, following the Dollemore Daily on Facebook. And if you appreciate the work that I do and you want to help support this, you want to help produce this work, you can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and help support there. Or If you just prefer to stay on YouTube, you can become a channel member for $2 a month. Click the join button below the video or just on my channel generally and help support that way. I would appreciate it very much. Every bit goes a long way if we're able to marshal the size of this audience. Good things.
If we lost the midterms, heaven forbid, if we lost the majority in the House, it would be the end of the Trump presidency in a real effect.
Mike Johnson went on Newsmax yesterday and gave his assessment of the speech. If you're waiting around, if you're like prepping yourself to see some clips of Mike Johnson give some honest answers about what the speech was comprised of and how well it went and what it addressed, you're going to be watching the wrong video because none of that's going to happen. Mike Johnson is just a cult member. He has supplanted, he has replaced any adoration or worshipful feelings he has for his self-described personal Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and he has put all of that faith and worshipfulness into the dear leader, Donald Trump. And in the clip that I'm getting ready to show you before we get to the Mike Johnson stuff, there was this moment during the speech last night where Donald Trump did a callback, like a talking about the winning comment that he used to make. You're going to get so tired of winning. The winning's going to be so much winning that you're going to be winning. You're going to be tripping over the winning. Oh, the winning. He's just a moron, right? So there was this moment where he's talking about the winning and you're going to be so tired of it. And the congressmen are calling me, sir, we can't handle it. You know, all this nonsense. And Mike Johnson, which people laughed at this moment, like they're laughing at a joke that everyone knows isn't funny, but they have to laugh because it's their leader, their president. And Mike Johnson categorizes this as not a laugh line. What did he say? It wasn't really a laugh line. This moment that you're getting ready to see, Mike Johnson says, wasn't meant for humor. It wasn't meant to get laughs.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
Weird and stupid and inaccurate. The only people that are winning in this administration are members of the administration and rich people. And I don't mean rich people like you make six figures a year. I mean rich people like you're a multi-millionaire, like you are worth 100 million or 500 or 600 million like Scott Bessent, who's one of the poorer members of this administration. There are several billionaires in their ranks. And this is how Mike Johnson categorized the moment that you just witnessed.
The president highlighted a lot of these big wins for the American people tonight, and it wasn't really a laugh line. He said that people are so tired of winning. You know, there is so much, but there's more yet to do. As he said, and he noted at the beginning of the speech, we inherited an absolute disaster from the Biden-Harris administration. Every metric of public policy was a mess. We went to work immediately on day one, and we delivered for the people. So we'll continue to do that. It's a very important point, and the president alluded to it tonight. He needs all 4 years, not just 2, to fix the mess. And that's what we need. If we lost the midterms, heaven forbid, if we lost the majority in the House, it would be the end of the Trump presidency in a real effect. So we've got to keep this going, and I think we're excited to put our candidates on the field to explain all this to the people.
Wasn't really a laugh line. Now, in further reflection, the more important comment that he made there was about losing the midterms. And I don't know who he's appealing to, because most people, the vast majority of Americans, are so upset with what is taking place in this country that they are getting ready to send Republicans packing in district after district after district after district all across the country. There are races in Texas right now, that aren't going the way that Republicans need them to go to maintain their majority. So that's a good sign. And it's a good sign that he recognizes it, that he's talking about it. Now, the other element that I want to talk about is that so many Democrats didn't stand for Donald Trump's engineered moments, where he's like, if you don't stand, you hate America, kind of a thing. He didn't say those exact words, but he certainly was ham-fisted in the nature with which he was putting forward these moments to try to paint Democrats as unpatriotic or unloving or uncaring about decency or whatever nonsense. People largely understand that these moments, these applause lines, and these moments where Donald Trump is trying to paint them into a box where they have to stand is just that, politics and stupid. But Mike Johnson wants to say it's shameful for Democrats to have not stood for Donald Trump's absolutely engineered moments.
What was the sight as you watched? You looked at it. You look over the president's back, and you see the Republicans up applauding. Naturally, it's their party, but the Democrats are just sitting there for the most part, except that there were occasions like when Senator Elizabeth Warren did stand up and clap about the insider trading issue. But give me an idea what it looked like from your perspective.
You know, it was a very shameful display. There was a couple of times, there's a couple of House members that I probably could have ejected from the chamber because of their behavior, but the president handled it so well, and I decided not to do that because, you know, I thought it would be better for the American people to see that, to see the shame that they were bringing upon themselves, and they just continue to do it. They stood at the wrong times, and they refused to stand when they should have. I mean, they stood and applauded themselves for voting against the working families' tax cuts.
Oh, the president handled it so well when they would call out. He handled it so well when they would sit at the wrong times and stand at the wrong times. I assume he's talking there about Al Green. If you missed that, I talked about that at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of the show. Al Green holding his "Black people aren't apes" sign, which multiple Republicans tried to rip from his hands to try to protect, the dear leader who handled it so well. You mean our adult president, our 80-year-old man president? He handled criticism well? That's the high water mark? That's the line in the sand that you need to make sure the American people understand, is that our 80-year-old man president was able to be criticized in public? They stood at the wrong times and they refused to stand when they should have, says the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who has abdicated any power and authority he has to the cult leader. We got you. We see you. You're a weirdo, to be sure. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below this video, whether that be on Facebook, whether that be on YouTube. I'd love to hear from you. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, every single day, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Thanks for joining me today. If you want to help support this work, there are multiple ways to do it. You can become a channel member right on YouTube. Click the join button. You can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. You can buy some merch by way of a mug or a t-shirt or a phone case or a sticker at Dollemore.com. All those purchases go a long way to supporting the work we do here, and I would appreciate your consideration very much. I'll see you next time. Maybe tomorrow, maybe today if something breaks. Be genuine. Take care of one another.